This just in, a new survey has found that some real estate agents have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and that some home buyers and home sellers are certifiably nuts. This and more on this edition of Reddit Real Estate Disasters. Jackie Baker is here with me as my co-host. I'm Jen Sylvester. Jackie, how are things down in the Dirty Jers down there?
We're doing great in the Dirty Jers. You never disappoint with your intros. I just want to tell you that right now. I look forward to this every week. I'm like, what is Jen going to do today? How are we going to?
Don't put pressure on me now. Don't put pressure on me now. These things, you know what? As long as I keep taking a shower in the morning, because this is where I get these revelations in the morning when I'm taking a shower. This morning, literally, I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? And then I'm like, something news breaking, whatever. And it's like, yes. You know what? So if I don't take a shower, then it's going to be a normal, boring podcast.
Well, thank God you showered.
There you go. Then there's that.
There's that.
Oh, Jackie. You know, this week has been interesting, right? Drama galore. Drama. There's we won't get into the dirty details, but drama in the real estate biz, drama in the YouTube land, drama at home.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I know. It's because, oh my God, when will it end? When will it freaking end? Yeah.
No, never.
No.
When we're 6 feet under, which hopefully won't be for a very, very long time.
Yes, that is true. So it's funny. So you started this off with saying, crazy buyers and sellers. So yeah, the stories I found today. Oh my, read some of these and I'm like, really? Like, yeah, people are nuts.
Well,
like
you know what?
People are nuts.
I think it takes a certain type of person to not only you have the situation in itself, right?
Yeah.
You have whatever circumstance and all the things, but think about the person. I mean, we've all had weird stuff happen to us, right?
Yeah.
But I don't post it out to the public.
No.
I don't actually broadcast it. And it never ceases to amaze me that it's some of these things I'm like, I wouldn't tell anybody about that.
Yeah.
It's geez, that's kind of embarrassing or whatever, or whatever, and it's some people they just don't care.
No.
They just
no.
Here's my dirty laundry. I'm just going to hang it outside, underwear and all. And here it is.
Yeah. They don't, it's amazing what social media has done. It's just even the Facebook mom groups that I'm a part of and the dirty laundry that's being aired there. Oh my, I'd be take that to Reddit. Why are you putting this on? Why are you putting this on the local town mom's page?
TMI. TMI, man.
Don't need to know.
And sometimes it's you know what? Back in the day, when there, before socials and cell phones, it was oh, I wonder what the Smiths are doing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Right.
Oh my God, Sally, did you hear? I didn't hear that. It gave you something to talk about. And nowadays it's oh, did you hear about? Yeah, I heard that. I read that on Facebook. Did you hear about? Yeah, I know. I saw that on Instagram. All right. What else is happening? Oh, nothing. It's it's everybody airs everything. It leaves nothing to your imagination.
Exactly. I would do anything to go back to those times where it's you're wondering what your next door neighbor was doing, watching from afar, what's going on over there?
True. It's
right?
True. If they're doing renovations or whatever, it's oh, are they putting? What do they do? It's no,
are they
just wait
selling?
for it to be on, just put it on Facebook. Oh, look at that. They put in a bidet. Oh, that's nice. That's great. That's an image I can't get out of my head now. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Anyway. Love it.
Crazy town.
Yes.
That's what it is. That's what we'll rename this podcast. Crazy Town.
Yeah.
Crazy Town, USA.
Yes.
But,
so, all right. You want to get into these stories or what?
Rock and roll, baby.
You're
Let's see what we got going. What
Which-
you got cooking on. And for those listening, just to let you know that Jackie cooks up these stories. She does all the heavy lifting. I just show up and be dumb and be silly. But she does all the heavy lifting and researching all these stories. I do not know what she's got cooked up every week. She finds these things and reads them to me. I'm hearing them for the first time, like you guys. So yeah, there's that. So no pressure, Jackie. Just entertain us. Here we go.
Okay. So here we go, Jen. This one, talking about crazy people. This is a crazy buyer. This was posted just a mere 6 days ago. Are you ready for this? And in today's market, I can't believe the buyer was requesting this. You ready?
Gotcha.
The buyer requesting us to convert office to a bedroom after inspection. You heard that right. Our inspection was yesterday, and today the buyer's request for repairs came in. Home is listed as a 4-bed, 3-bath with a non-conforming fifth bedroom noted, or fifth room, sorry, a non-conforming fifth room noted. It's non-conforming because the furnace is located in the utility closet attached to the room. They're asking us to close off the doorway by drywalling it off, relocate the washer and dryer hookup of the laundry room on the opposite side, and install a door to access it. They're also asking us to install a brand new HVAC, even though the inspection noted it was in good condition, just an older model. They said if we don't do this, they're backing out. Are these ethical requests? They saw all this before going under contract, and I feel like they're bullying me into increasing their home equity instantly. What the heck?
Okay, you know what I get? You know what I say about that? This just in: home buyers are certifiably nuts.
And in this market,
I just how I got nothing. I'm like, you know what? You know what this backyard really needs? A pool.
Yeah.
Mr. Seller, I really think that, you know what, you're making a big mistake by selling this to me without a pool.
Yeah.
So I need you to make that happen.
Could you put one in? Yeah.
And you know what? I know you've got like 10 buyers behind me, but I'm the buyer for this house. I'm the one that really should have this house. So you really need to because you know what? No one is going to buy this house without you need to put a pool in.
Right. Exactly.
What the heck?
What the heck is right? I read this. I'm like, I had to read it twice. I'm like, they're asking the seller to renovate the house for them on their dime. Like,
now,
on the seller's
okay,
dime.
so
What the
I
heck?
get the fact that buyers are like the last 4 years, buyers are feeling backed into a corner. And
Right.
they're like feeling like they are owed something. You know, these sellers have like massive equity and all the things. Not the seller's fault. Not the seller's fault the market went up. They're just taking advantage of it, right? They're not like, hey, I'm going to do a shady thing. It's like, well, no, the prices went up. If you're a homeowner, then you want to sell, then good for you. It's, it's not, you didn't do anything wrong. But these buyers are like they feel like it's like, it's like a rabid animal. You back into a corner, and what do? They're like scratching and because they're like, I feel powerless. So what can I possibly do to get things back into my own control?
Exactly.
And and so they ask for these things that are like, if you take 5 steps backwards, okay. And actually, I have another thought on this too. But if you take 5 steps backwards and really look at the situation as a whole, you'd see like maybe your immediate knee-jerk reaction is not the most logical thing. But the other thing here is the fact that this just in, some real estate agents have absolutely no idea what they're doing.
Do you think?
Like, how does a real estate agent let this happen? Like, okay, I have a buyer. The buyer says, Jen, we did an inspection. I think they should do this. I say, okay, here's what's customary and reasonable.
Yes. Yep.
Here's what's customary and reasonable. What you're requesting of the seller is not customary and reasonable.
Right.
Is there something wrong with the washer dryer? Is there something illegal with the washer dryer hookup? Is there something that is not to code? Those are things that are reasonable for you to request.
Right.
This is not customary and reasonable, and you could potentially kill the whole deal because the seller will get rubbed the wrong way, and they will decide. They'll say, "No, we don't want to continue with this transaction,"
Right.
and back out. I highly recommend, unless you are willing to walk away from this house, and if you're willing to walk away from this house, why are you trying to buy it?
Exactly.
You need to go. We need to go to another property.
Yep.
That would be what now. We've all had buyers that we've had those conversations with, and the buyers are like, "I want you to do this," and it is, as real estate agents,
We have to.
have a fiduciary responsibility to obey their lawful instructions. That's right in the code of ethics. So as long as they're not breaking any laws, we are obligated to forward no matter how stupid, their request.
Oh, yeah.
But I just have a sneaking suspicion that that's not the case here. I have a sneaking suspicion because this is just too outlandish.
Yeah. Listen, if that was my buyer and they're like, made that request and, we want them to convert the room, I would be the same way as you. Like, that is not customary, reasonable. Absolutely not. But like you said, we have to go and request it. I'll be honest. I'd be mortified to do that. I'd be mortified to ask, like, to bring that to the listing agent. Because I know what the answer is going to be right off the bat. They're just going to say, no, we're on the spot.
Yep.
And you're right. This seller will be the one to kill the deal. Like, as much as the buyer would be like, oh, we're walking away if you don't do this for us. No, seller's going to move on to the next person. Because if you're asking, the way I would look at that, if you're asking that ridiculous of a request, what else do you have up your sleeve? What else are you going to try and weasel out of this deal?
Absolutely. And you know what? That was the other thing I was going to say. It's like, if there are any legitimate requests in addition to that, they're totally shooting themselves in the foot.
Oh, totally. They won't do it.
Because they're not going to do anything.
I'm not doing anything.
They're like, oh, yeah, and there's mold in the attic. Okay, whatever.
Right.
You can buy it or not, but Mr. Buyer, you know what? You pissed me off, so whatever. You want to buy the house, it's as is now.
Yep.
I don't want to do anything. I can legally sell it with mold. I'm going to sell it. If you want to buy it, great. If not, I'm going on to the next person.
Yep.
So I feel like that has gotten, lost. It's like we were just talking about, like that veil of, of appropriateness, that social interaction, where that courtesy, like that courtesy of like, not just blurting out. There's no filter.
No.
With people anymore. And so, because of that evil social media that's going to just ruin the world. So you know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like people are just like, well, I'm going to ask them anyways. I'm like, well, you know what? The thing that people are missing and they forget, our job to remind them, a lot of agents don't do this, is that, you know what, you do that, you're gonna burn your bridge. You can burn bridges. It's negotiation.
Yep.
They call it negotiation for a reason. And it's like, you have to set the stage. And if you say something that is too abrasive, then one of the parties is going to just shut the door. And then now they're going to be like standoffish.
Right. Well, so this just reminded me. So we're trying to sell our property down in Delaware. It's a townhouse. It was new construction, 3 years old. They had the open house on Saturday. My agent told me that one couple was interested, but they thought there was too much carpeting in the place. I'm like,
good for them.
So okay, so don't buy it then. What are you getting at? And then they were saying, oh, it needs to be cleaned. It doesn't need to be cleaned. It does not. I was just down there a month ago.
They could have OCD.
True.
They could have OCD, but I mean, if it needs to be cleaned, well, then what are you going to buy a place and never clean it?
Exactly. I'm willing to clean it, but to say it's too much carpeting, they were like alluding to the fact that they wish that there was more of the engineered wood or whatever, the luxury vinyl on the steps leading up to the family room and kitchen. And I was like, yeah, okay, so don't buy it. don't buy it. Like, what do
And honestly, in this market, if somebody's going to pass on something petty like that,
they're not serious.
then they're not serious buyers.
They're not serious.
Because
Exactly.
I mean, you're talking flooring. That's a cosmetic thing.
Totally.
That's a cosmetic thing. And it's like, you know, when I bought my place 24 years ago, we bought it with shag carpet and awful wallpaper and all the stuff because the floor plan was great.
Yep.
The neighborhood was great. The location to downtown was great. We could work with it. And then over time, we chipped away.
Yeah.
Over time, we chipped away. We got rid of the shag carpet. We did some sweat equity, a lot of sweat equity.
Yeah.
But, you know, that stuff is all, you know, as long as buying a house that needs like a roof and you don't have money in your budget for a roof.
Yep.
Well, that's a different story.
Exactly.
But flooring, you know, like the carpet, like put a rug down temporarily.
Yeah.
Or just rip it up.
Rip it up yourself.
Rip it up yourself and deal with subflooring for a while until you have the money to put down your own flooring. Like there are ways.
Yep.
You know? I don't know. People become so
people are just crazy. I'm just
picky. They're just picky and they
crazy.
want they want it. What was that do you remember the Burger King commercial? Have it your way. What was
have
the
it your
jingle?
way, yeah.
What was the jingle? You can have it'll come to me. The jingle for Burger King that was like you could have it your way.
Yep. Yeah. I don't remember.
But that's
all
the way
words.
that's the way everybody's like, I want it. It's like a 5-year-old. I want it my way, and I'm not gonna move until I get it.
Yep. That's how people are behaving. But you know what, Jen? You raised a good point before, though. Like in this market, you know, it's so tense, right? And the buyers feel like they are backed in a corner because they're competing against a million other people to get a house, and they have to accept, you know, like this is it. You know, you want the house, take it or leave it. And they know like how hard it is to actually get their offer accepted in this market. And I just think it's brought out so much anger in people, you know, so much frustration.
Yep.
And, you know, that could be where this buyer was coming from. You know what? You renovate it for me. I don't want to spend any more money.
And we don't know, you know, the other thing is like, okay, so are they paying above asking? And then maybe because of the circumstances, because the market that they're in, they ended up paying significantly over asking just to get their foot in the door. And maybe they're mad about that. But I mean, the flip side is like, if the shoe were on the other foot and you put a house on the market and you're in a neighborhood that's desirable or just, you know, in a market that's desirable, right? And you have all these buyers and they're willing to pay more money for your home. Like, how is that the seller's fault? You know, a lot of people are like, oh, those sellers, they're jacking up the price. Oh, the realtors are jacking. It's like, no, we're not. The buyers are willingly paying it.
Yeah, the buyers are doing it.
The buyers are the ones that are. If you don't want to pay that, then don't buy it. And if you're in a market that everyone's paying over asking, then why is it that they feel entitled to buy? Maybe you just don't buy it. You just don't buy in that. Either you don't buy in that market or you just don't buy now.
Right.
If you feel that strongly about it. But nobody's forcing anyone to do anything.
No. Yep.
And you know what I'm saying? It's not the seller's fault. So maybe we don't know with this situation. Maybe the sellers are getting, you know, 30,000 over asking and they're like, well, since I'm paying over asking, I want to get something for my money. That could be it. Still not the seller's fault.
That's exactly it, but it's not right. It's not the right thing to do. Even in a
it's
normal
not
market.
Reasonable.
But listen, even in a normal market, Jen, if it was, say this is 2018, 2019, would you be like, I would still be appalled if a buyer was asking the seller to convert a bedroom.
Oh, absolutely. It's just, I think that when people are paying way over asking, they feel like some people,
so they need to get something out of it.
They need to get something for their money. They feel like they're victims. They feel like they're victims because they're so frustrated that this is just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I get why they feel that way, but it's certainly not the seller's fault.
No,
and the seller it's not reasonable for the seller to fold on something like that.
Yep.
So I don't know. Does it have any, that story have any, I mean, I know it just
I was
posted, any
looking.
follow-ups or
So
comments?
there was also that they also mentioned that they wanted a brand new HVAC system, but the inspection showed that it was in good condition, nothing wrong with it. So they weren't get, you're not getting that. Um, but I'm trying to see the comments here. Somebody wrote here, their remodeling can be done on on their time and their dime. There is nothing that needs to be done to the fifth room to pass inspection. If they don't like the setup, they can find another home or remodel after they purchase. Basically, you can just say, no, not happening, give them a chance to backpedal or put the house back on the market.
As
My guess,
Nancy Reagan would say, just say no.
just say no. My guess is that they will still go ahead with the purchase because they were just fishing to see what demands would concede to you, they wanted to see what demands would concede to in your desperation to sell. Don't be desperate. Hold your ground. Who's desperate to sell in this market when you have a million freaking offers? Are you?
Unless you're, I mean, I would say if you're in Florida, if you're in Texas,
Yeah,
you might, but the thing
you
is,
might. Yeah.
even then,
Even then, no.
I don't think
No,
anybody's
somebody else will come along.
desperate.
No. Next.
No,
That's what I say to that one.
no.
Moving on. All right. So you want to hear more crazy buyers and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because I got a lot today. All right. Okay, let's move over to crazy sellers. This just happened 5 days ago, and the title of this one is "Sellers Left a Non-Attached Kitchen Item and Want It Back or Will Sue." This is a good one. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. Last month, I bought my first home, and it was a meh experience because the listing agent and sellers were difficult to deal with. Right before closing, during their move, sellers broke a window and damaged a window AC unit. They fixed a window but failed to disclose that the AC unit was broken, and I didn't catch it until after the final walkthrough. When I spoke with my realtor, I was told the house comes as is and that everything inside belonged to me now, so it was my responsibility. Nothing I could do, apparently. Fast forward a week after closing, I'm cleaning the kitchen and find a kitchen item they left behind and other miscellaneous things. A few days later, my agent calls that the sellers want the kitchen item back, but that I wasn't legally obligated to give it back. I asked if they'd be willing to fix the AC unit, and she said no.
Good for
So
her.
I
Good for
told
her. Them.
yeah. So I told her to let them know then that since all sales are final, I'll keep the kitchen item since it's about the same price for a new AC unit. Fast forward again, and my realtor calls to let me know that they're threatening to take me to small claims court over the appliance, which cost less than $500. What I'm trying to understand is, do they have a case? Should I even respond at this point? Part of me wants to give it back so they can leave me be, but then the other part of me feels like they're fear mongering and pushing me around. So no. Anyone have any advice? I'm confused, honestly, on what's the best choice. Are you freaking kidding me? Come on. Come on. Like,
You know what? All I can say is it's a good thing it was a kitchen item and not a bedroom item. If you catch my drift. If you catch my drift, because
yeah, I got
people hide things in the closets that the unmentionables.
yes.
Be
Yeah.
like, can I have that back? Buyer's like, oh, honey, yes, you can.
Yes,
I'll
you
leave
can.
it right on the front steps for you. No, thank you.
But
Here you go.
good on the buyer though for not backing down and be like, "You're going to fix the AC unit."
That
No.
buyer needs to tell them to blow smoke. Like,
Yep.
see you later. Like, threatening small claims courts, the judge is going to be like, seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously?
You said all sales are final. Everything's final. It's your house, so it's my house, my kitchen item. I'm not giving it
Tough.
back.
I mean, what was this thing got sentimental value to seller?
I don't
Like
know.
to the old seller? Like,
It doesn't say what it is though. They don't mention what the item is,
I
which is
wish
kind of,
I want to know.
I know.
I want to know. Look on Facebook and see if we can find out, because
I wonder.
somebody posted it somewhere.
I wonder if it's a mixer. I wonder.
That's
if
what I'm thinking. It's got to be something like a
it's like a
Cuisinart, like one of those big, one of those
KitchenAid mixer. I think
yes,
it's
so
what it is.
the big ones that are like $500-600.
Yeah,
or something
I
like
think
that.
that's what it
But like,
is.
how do you miss packing that?
Yeah.
How do you miss
that?
packing something like that? Like,
Yeah.
seriously?
Yeah.
You know what? If you didn't check the cabinets, I mean, stuff happens, but I mean, oh well.
Yeah.
You know what? And you know what? There's a little thing called karma.
Mm-hmm.
You broke a window. You broke the AC.
Yep.
You weren't upfront about it. You kind of were sneaky about it.
Right.
And karma just came and bit you in the ass.
Yep. So there you go.
There you go. Case
So-
closed. End of story. And you know what I got to say about that to these sellers? It's a sad day. Sad day when you leave your kitchen item in the kitchen and you sell the house. It's hard to say goodbye. It's really hard to say goodbye.
Yes, it
But
is.
it is what it is.
So you want to hear the comments on
Oh,
this?
yes.
Okay,
Please share.
the first comments, people are saying change your locks because
Well, you should do that anyways.
you do it anyway, but
Yeah,
they're
you
like
should be doing
change
that
your locks
anyways.
because they'll come back and try and steal it from you. Some people shared their personal stories about like stuff that was left behind. So here's a response. They said this person said, happened to me too. Seller couldn't get everything out by closing, so we agreed they could have access to the garage only, and only until 9 p.m. on the date of closing.
Yeah, I've done that. We've worked that out
yeah.
sometime, depending on the circumstance and the relationship with the buyer and the seller.
For sure.
But it's all done agreement by attorneys and end time and all very
Absolutely.
very structured.
Yep.
So yeah, that's 100%.
So it goes on to say, because we had kids, so we had until 9 p.m. on the day of closing because we have kids we needed to put to bed. They hastily put their stuff in the garage before closing. Closing was smooth, and we all returned to the house so we could start moving into it, and they could finish cleaning out their belongings from the garage. At 9:30 p.m., they told us the garage was empty, but they tell us they had a full shed of things they needed to collect as well. We made arrangements for them to come the next day at 6 p.m. to finish up the task, but they decided to return while I was at work. They broke in through the dog door in the pool enclosure and entered my house. They also took stuff from the shed and 2 of the 4 lounge chairs from poolside. Because we didn't get all the keys and security gate openers at close, they had promised to bring them by the next day, but didn't. I had an emergency locksmith out at 6 a.m. the following day to rekey all the locks. I also spoke to our security guard about watching for the previous owners because they broke into my house. Finally, I called my realtor and had her pass on the message to her clients pass on the message to her clients that if they stepped foot in my property again, I would have them arrested. Never heard from them again. Can you imagine, like the previous owners just breaking back into the house to get their crap?
I can imagine that.
Well, yeah.
I can imagine that because people are certifiably crazy.
I was just going to say, people are crazy. People are crazy.
Can't even, but can you imagine, like, you're buying this house and you're all excited and, you get in and you're like getting settled and you're thinking about the future and where you're going to put your stuff and everything else.
Yep.
And it's like these people completely steal that feeling from you.
Yes.
Completely
ruin it.
Steal and ruin the feeling.
Totally
and now
ruin it.
The excitement is replaced with fear, anxiety,
Yeah.
nervousness.
Yep.
What are they going to do? Do I
Yep.
need to worry about security? Are they going to come back? What if they come back? What are they going to take? What are they going to do to my house? Like, that's
It's crazy.
awful. That
It
is
is.
so, I feel bad. I feel really, really bad, but I would be installing cameras. I feel like nowadays I live in a safe neighborhood and I got cameras everywhere.
I know.
It's mostly to watch to watch the freaking wildlife, but we had a bear. I'm in Massachusetts. I'm in the south near Cape Cod.
You had a bear.
I had a
bears
black
here.
bear.
Bears here all the time.
Last year. One that
Really?
came right to my back door. I have a walkout cellar, and I had a camera right over, and it just like this little baby bear came. I mean, baby, he was freaking huge. and he came right up to my back door. And I'm like,
Really?
oh, what is going on? We're so far away from New Hampshire. And like, I was like, this is crazy, but that's what I enjoyed my cameras for that. But in that case, like, it's so easy nowadays to like get like same day delivery from Amazon and throw those cameras up and
100%.
and get that. Guy would be doing that in a hot second.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but y'all,
know.
everybody has to do that. Everybody's got to do that and when they close in their house, get cameras put up because
Well, change the
the locks too.
You just, I mean, I tell people, like, you don't. I mean, in like dog, if what they say, they broke in through a dog door or something, and they got into the house. Like, those animal doors and stuff, they make me.
I don't like those at all.
I know. I hate. It makes me nervous.
I mean, I've showed houses like that. When I see those dog doors, it's like, oh, we got to replace the door.
It's like a hole in the hole in the house. It's a hole in the house.
It is, and even if so I had clients when so a while ago they had a dog, and I'm like, oh, a doggy door. I'm like, what? No, why would you keep that?
It's called just open the door. Like, I don't have a dog, so I can't, like, I don't want to offend the dog owners out there. Like, I get the fact
I mean, I own a dog, but I wouldn't keep a doggy door in my house. Are you kidding me?
No way. No way.
That's like, oh my God. That's like, let's just invite anybody in, No.
I mean, a raccoon, that's a pretty, like, raccoons are scary. Raccoons can be fierce and everything else. And if they want to get in the house.
Oh, they will.
Can you imagine? They force their way in, and then
no,
get me out of here.
No. Yeah. So anyway, the non-attached kitchen item, I thought that was good what this person did. Like, just don't give it back. Just be petty about it and just
be petty.
So don't give it back. So anyway,
good Lord.
All right.
You know what? You know what I wish? I wish that sellers would come back and get their crap. As much as I hear. I mean, how many homes have you sold and you get there and you're like, you didn't take all the crap in the attic.
I know.
I bought my house and I'm like, oh, look at that. There's a 22 rifle up in the attic, and like literally there's a sheet. Wow. There was a windshield in the attic.
It's a windshield.
Oh my freaking windshield. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm like, okay, so how are we getting this out of here? But like, there was so much random stuff, and the sellers were long gone. And how much I would have loved to be like, oh, you want to come back? Oh, ring, ring, ring. Oh, Mr. Oh, you forgot. You can please. How's like in 10 minutes? You can come get it. Like, please come get it. But no, that like never happens.
Oh,
right?
I've had that in my own listings where. I don't know, like I had this one family, and I know they thought they were being generous, but they left like a bunch of tools in the garage, thinking, oh, the new owners, they'll be able to use them, and then their shop vac, but they didn't check with anybody first. Like you're supposed to ask. They just left it. And guess who gets the phone call at the walkthrough of being screamed at by the buyer's agent? Like, they left all their stuff here in the garage and blah, blah, blah. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to my client who were long gone, moved out of state already. And they're like, oh, well, we thought she could use all that stuff. Like, and they're the nicest people. They're just being generous. They're like, we thought you can. I go, but you have to tell. You have to ask. You got to ask first. They were upset.
I had a situation like that recently. In a house that, even though, you just try your best and you try to educate, remind, and say, oh, you got to clean the stuff out. You got to clean it out. You got to clean it out. You got to clean it out. And then sometimes buyers are just picky, but there was stuff. The biggest thing, actually, this is a segue, like a lot of home sellers, and I don't know how often you come across this, but oftentimes I hear from sellers, well, I bought it with that stuff in the house. Oh, yeah. So like, I'm going to leave it for the next buyer because after all, I bought it that way. So like, why should I have to take it out? And it's like, well, when you buy the house, you assume that's now yours. That's now yours. And it's your responsibility to get rid of it. So the sellers had left, like, there was like this old table. There was like a lot of miscellaneous stuff. And the buyers are like, no, but you know what? I have made a habit of going to the walkthrough as a listing agent just to circumvent the issue. And I was there and saw it with my own eyes. And you know what? The buyer agent was a professional guy. And he came up to me, he's like, Jen, da, da, da. I'm like, okay, can we do a credit? Yep. I said, what do you think would be reasonable? We talked about it. He went to his client. Boom, 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 boom. We agreed, $500. Boom. Okay. We'll do a credit at the closing. Done. Yep. Now the buyer has a credit. He assumes the responsibility for getting rid of the stuff. He's happy. Seller doesn't have to deal with it. And it got solved before they even left the house. Because we
love when that happens.
It's amazing things when you actually do your job.
Yes,
but it's like the seller, and she was she's so sweet, young girl. She was, she had well-meaning, but it was like, even though I told her I'm like, you can't leave it. Because she assumed like, oh well, we bought it that way.
Yep.
It's like no.
Yep.
No, but we were able to do that thing. And I will tell you, I've had situations where sellers have left stuff. And sometimes it's like, I had this one, I had a couple times where sellers forgot to pack an entire drawer of silverware. Like the entire drawer, it's like they skipped over it. I'm like,
I could see that.
How do you miss it? But they did.
I could see that happening now when you're in your frenzy trying to pack, and
especially if you're like underestimating the amount of time. I mean, how many times have you had situations where you're like getting down to the wire, like 3 weeks out, and the sellers haven't even started packing, and their response is, "Oh, it'll be fine. We don't have that much to pack." Have you heard that a couple times? And I'm like, you don't really know how much crap you have until you start packing a kitchen.
Yeah.
When you pack a kitchen, you start opening, you're like, holy.
The kitchen that's the worst.
That's a holy do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like you don't realize until you start packing how much stuff you accumulate, and then it turns into a frenzy. And I've had situations where the new owners will be like, does the seller want this stuff? And then a phone call and the seller's like, oh yeah, we do. Or, oh no, you can throw it away or whatever. Yeah. But I've never had that kind of a situation, but it's like, that's why I just like, I get in the habit when we go to the walkthrough, we just make sure, like I walk around and open every single
me too.
Cabinet, every single drawer, every single closet, just so that I can see with my own eyes that it's empty.
Yep. So
a little PSA to our real estate agents out there. Do your job.
Do your jobs.
Do your job.
So speaking of sellers, I have another nightmare seller story. You want to hear this one?
Yes. I don't know, actually. Do I? I do, but I don't. It's kind of like watching a car crash. Like you really don't want to watch it, but you really do.
Yeah,
like you're really you're like that little like voyeurism. You're like, I wonder if there's blood. And then you're like, oh no, I don't really want to watch. I hope they're okay. Yeah, but it would be really interesting if there were body parts. Do you know what I'm saying?
I totally hear you. I get you. So this one, I think that, these people did not use real estate agents. So it was a for sale by owner. So here we go. It says, but the title is Bought Our Dream House with Nightmare Seller.
So is it for sale by owner, buyer, and the buyers don't have an agent?
Correct.
Got it.
Okay. So here we go.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
I don't know.
There is there's absolutely nothing could go wrong. You know what'll happen? This thing is going to work out. It's going to be, everything's going to be great. I just been waiting to hit that button, honestly. I just been waiting for a reason to hit that button.
That was perfect. Awesome, Jen. Good
All right,
timing.
Rock and roll. Tell me this. Right. Tell me the scoop.
Okay, my husband and I just bought our first home, and it is everything we hoped for. We ended up getting a great deal on a century home in the neighborhood we wanted, below market value. However, the seller was an eccentric older hippie who refused to bring real estate agents into the sale. I stumbled on the house myself. Everything went smoothly with closing and title transfer. Rocket Mortgage was actually fantastic. We got the keys, and the seller confirmed he had movers coming the day after close, which was a Friday. We showed up with a van full of boxes and our toddler on Saturday, ready to move in, and found the house trashed. Bags of defrosted food laying outside and around the living room. Old puppy pee pads shoved under rugs. Broken glass, moldy food, dirty underwear. You get the picture. We tried calling the seller and he had disconnected his phone or changed his number. We sent multiple emails over the course of the next few days. The final one stating that if we did not hear from him, we were hiring a junk removal company the next day. And once we figured he was gone for good, we began to clean up. We still have a basement full of his old belongings, but the main house was cleared within 3 weeks. We had to pay close to $1,000 for junk removal services and called lots of donation trucks. Today, 3 weeks after move-in, we received a letter from the seller stating he wants to come by next week and pick up his computers and cameras that he forgot. Also, that he didn't have internet.
Make sure he grabs the pee pads.
But wait, hold on. There's a slight chance that a computer is somewhere in the basement, but I am 100% sure that that his inexpensive cameras were some of the items we donated. Really, I don't want this man in my house, and I don't feel like letting him come back to pick and choose after what we had gone through is in any way fair. Are there any legal repercussions that anyone knows for sure for us? Sorry, are there any legal repercussions that anyone knows of for us to flat out saying no to his request to pick up items he might have left behind? Here we go. This is another one. People leaving their crap behind.
Why don't they just ask their closing attorney?
Exactly.
Why don't they just ask, you know what I'm saying? Like, if something like that, like, okay. Lesson number 1, students, pay attention. Always do a final walkthrough.
Yeah.
When you do a final walkthrough, if there are items left behind, make sure you have an agreement in writing. Make sure that you have a holdback. A holdback is when the attorneys hold some money. And they will hold that money until the buyers say everything is gone. So students, if this ever happens to you, make sure that you follow these steps.
Well,
come on.
This is what happens when you don't have a real estate agent telling you what to do.
And you know what? Like,
that's the problem.
Did they not? They must have just not said anything to the attorneys. Because you know what? We don't know if there was an attorney, because this may have been in a state that that may not have been an attorney state. I shouldn't assume that.
Yeah, I don't.
They probably could have been in a title state.
It was just title companies. So title, they're not going to care.
They're not going to care. So there won't be an attorney to call. There won't be an attorney to which.
But now they're probably going to have to hire an attorney to get their, to get their advice as to what to do with this. But look. You took possession of the house. They tried getting a hold of the guy. He didn't respond. So, he's SOL. Sorry.
Every real estate transaction is final.
Yes.
There is no 30-day return policy. There's no lemon law policy.
Nope.
The seller isn't entitled to jack squat.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Right.
Once that house goes into their name, game over.
They're done. Bye.
It doesn't matter. They can leave gold bricks in the basement. Well, it belongs to the new owners now.
That's right.
Too bad.
Yep.
I would absolutely. They need to just say, sorry, not sorry.
Yep.
See ya.
Yeah.
And I don't care how eccentric you are. Change the locks. Change the locks. Put up cameras and I don't know. Maybe he dropped too much acid or something. permanent delusional.
That's a good answer, Jen. It's very possible.
Because the world is a different place when you're on acid, from what I hear.
Sure about that? From what you hear?
From what I hear. Hey,
okay.
Hey,
nothing
since high school.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's a long time ago. It's a long
okay.
When I was young and stupid. But that being said, I am not, you know what, Jackie? I am not anti, a lot of our real estate friends. Okay, they're like, oh, FSBO, that's a 4-letter word. It's it's bad.
Yeah,
that's a big. You know what? For some people, it is not a mistake.
Right.
If you have the wherewithal, you do the research You do the research. You know the process. You have an attorney. You have to have an attorney guiding you because you need to have
Yes.
contracts and paperwork in order. But you know what? If selling a house without an agent is not bad. Buying a house is not bad. But you've got to be on your game. You got to know, dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure. And these poor people, there was not, no. They obviously did not. That was not in the equation.
What they should have done, honestly, because I mean, the guy said he was refusing this. They said that the seller, the hippie seller, didn't want to bring any real estate agents in. Then at that point, I would have been like, all right, then I'm getting a real estate attorney.
Yep. Yep.
Let this be a lesson to people. Don't ever get bullied by by a seller or whatever, or a buyer that said, I want to work at the real estate agents. I don't want to pay the commission. Okay, fine. That is your right to do that. But if you're not doing that, then at least get an attorney.
At least get an attorney for the contracts.
An attorney involved, because
yeah, I mean, I can see, honestly, if they're getting this below market value, I can see the temptation to be like, oh, this is not comfortable, but we're getting a really good price.
Right.
We're getting a really good price. So
you're right.
It's like,
they were like,
you know what I'm
we'll
saying?
go with it. Yeah, we'll go.
We'll just go with it. And
Yep.
and if it's a little bumpy, that's okay because we're saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that is 100%, Jackie. Like, you can't, you know what? If they're saving some money on the market value, then spend a little of that for legal counsel.
Yep.
And maybe they had legal counsel. We don't know.
It doesn't sound like they did. I mean, because she's going to Reddit asking for advice, so she doesn't have legal counsel.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I'm telling you, bras and underwear out in the public. Like, why is she going to Reddit on this? Why is she going to Reddit on this? Like, honest to God,
why are we going right?
Dirty laundry.
Like,
here we go. Pee pads and everything.
Listen,
probably the guy probably had a kitchen appliance he had his eye on too. You know what I'm saying?
Did.
You never know.
Like Reddit. Okay, I understand. Like, I love Reddit because people do go there for advice. But what things like this, where you're like $1,000 it costs them to get all that crap removed out of their house, and now the guy could come back. Now that they're going to be sued. Oh my God! Don't ever set yourself up in that situation. Just no.
And you know what? If they got that house below market value, okay, so they paid $1,000. They're probably still on the upside because
ahead.
You know what I'm saying? But and you're absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Right. Like that seller, he can do a rain dance. He can do whatever the heck he wants to do. He is not. He is not entitled to squat. He is not gonna. No. They need to not fold or do anything. That's it. That's it. Done. It's done. Move on. Move on, buddy.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more, Jen.
Let's go. Rock and roll, baby.
All right. Trying to decide which one to choose. Do I do a buyer one or do I do a seller one? Another seller story.
Whichever is the juiciest. Because you know what? All these stories, they just make me feel better about my life. They honestly do. As frustrating, we were talking before we hit record, and it's all the stuff, the normal everyday stuff of being of working and being self-employed and being a mom and all the stuff.
Yep.
It's some days are a grind.
Yes.
Some days are a flippin' grind.
They sure are.
Today was no exception. And but now I look like I hear these stories and I'm like, my life is bull cherries.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
You're doing okay.
You're doing okay.
You're doing okay there, Jen.
There's nobody coming back and looking for, stuff. I would hope after 24 years they were not coming back. But like it just, I don't know. Like it just makes me feel better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's the final one. The title of this is Buyers and Home Inspectors Are So Weird. And this That was a good one. That was
there
good.
We go.
Jen, you're getting so good at that.
I just love my little toys.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, here we go. I listed a weekend house for sale. The real estate frenzy that happened during COVID did crazy things to house values, and I was happy to cash it out. The house has a 20-year-old furnace in it that the previous owners never kept a filter in. It's been on my list of things to replace since I bought the place. I got into the furnace at one point and spent a day with a shop vac and a mop bucket, cleaning everything I could on the unit and replaced a burner tray. But I knew it was just a matter of time before the thing stopped working. Knowing this and anticipating what a home inspection would say, I, I specifically told the real estate agent the furnace was dodgy and being offered as is, and offered a $1,500 credit at close to help with the cost to replace it. They apparently, he's talking about the buyers, they apparently got a doozy of a home inspector who thought a clean furnace equals a new furnace and told the buyer he didn't know why in the world I would offer a credit for it. It's apparently nearly new and good for at least another 15 to 20 years. Uh-huh. Okay. I'm going to hold back here. The buyer became obsessed with this closing credit, questioning it over and over, and eventually asking it to be removed from the deal because they thought I was scamming them. My agent was, yeah, right? My agent was as confused as me, in particular because the other thing the buyer was obsessed over was having a certain name brand style of garage door opener and requested that the existing unit be replaced. End of the day, I sold the existing garage door opener on Facebook, swapped out the garage door opener for what they wanted, which was significantly cheaper than the model I had, and still came out over $1,000 ahead. What the what? What the what?
Good for that seller for like some I've seen some situations where home sellers will be like, okay, so we're saving money here, and then the buyers have a request that logically it's like, okay, I'm still going to end up ahead, so I'm just going to do the thing.
Yeah.
But instead they like it their emotions, and they're so ticked off about the first request that even though the second request logically is totally fine, they'll still end up ahead. They like say no to it just out of spite, and then it creates more havoc and everything else. So good for him, but
isn't it funny?
What the hell?
What's up with the inspector?
I thought you were going to go in a different direction. You were going to go in a different direction with the story that I had a situation just last year where I had a client that was selling an old home. The house was well over 150 years old, and had the original, it was the old asbestos wrapped boiler, steam boiler, right? And the little old lady who owned it, oh my God, she was so sweet. She had maintained, she tried her maintained it, and it didn't work great, but for her it was fine. Okay. Right. And they were buying the house. The house needed a lot of work, and they were buying it as is and all the stuff. And they knew what they were getting into. Okay. So they do the final walkthrough, and I get on that one, I had a conflict. I couldn't go to the final walkthrough. And I said to the agent, I'm like, can we reschedule? Can you pick a different time? Like, I'd like to be there.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll just message you. And knowing that the circumstance in that they were buying this house as is. The house had issues. They knew it had issues. It was a younger couple. The parents had owned antique homes. Parents are helping them buy it. Like, it was the kind of situation, it's like, what could go wrong? Well, I get a call and they're like, there's no heat. I'm like, I was literally there the day before. Day before, just a quick walkthrough, because the seller had already moved out for, a couple weeks before. So I went over there like every couple days. It was, cold. So I know, make sure the heat's running, and everything. Yeah. Nobody had broken into the house and all the stuff. And I was like, I was just there yesterday. The heat was, it's not running now. It's not running now. I'm like, so I was like, okay, let me work on this. So I got my car, drove over there. And sure enough, heat's not kicking on. I'm like, what the heck? So I said, okay. So I called a local plumber who specializes in antique homes. The plumber actually was the guy that they were going to use to replace it after they moved in. And so the agent's like, we're going to use, and I'm like, oh, I know that guy. And I'm like, okay, let me call him and see if, we'll get him in there. We'll get it running. Of course, the seller's going to pay for it and all this stuff. We hadn't closed at this point. So the plumber goes over there and he calls me. He's like, oh, there's a wire that was on top of the steam boiler and it got loose. So I reattached it. Okay, $200.
Okay.
Boom. Well, he sent the invoice to me. I forwarded it to the seller. Seller was tickled. Okay, great. She was all poor little lady. She was like, "Oh, I just don't want them to have. I don't want them to not have heat." And I'm like, not to worry, Beverly. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And so she's, oh, thank goodness. They'll have heat and all this stuff. And well, what I didn't know was that the plumber had sent a second invoice to the buyers and said, "Okay, here's what you should do." Boom, 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 boom. It was like $2,500, I don't know, about $5,000 worth of stuff needs to be done.
Oh my God.
And so next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call from the agent that says, from the seller's attorney that says, okay, so the buyer's attorney is now demanding that we give the buyers $10,000 credit. I'm like,
what?
Wait, what now? Well, they said it's because the furnace needs to be fixed. So I call the agent and I'm like, we need to work this out, like you and me. The minute attorneys get involved, it gets like blown out of proportion.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all this stuff. So the agent turns around and says, I'm not dealing with it. The attorney's dealing with it.
Oh my gosh.
This just in, some real estate agents have no idea what they're doing. I mean, no joke. He was a younger guy and he just was like, I'm not handling. I'm like, dude, this is our job. This is our job. He wouldn't do it. Okay. So I talked to the attorney and come to find out, the plumber had given the thing to the buyers. They legitimately were planning to do work after they moved in. Their attorney convinced them that they should ask the seller for this money because after all, the sellers are walking away with a big,
my God,
check, a huge check. Oh, and by the way, she was elderly. They never said that, but they knew she was elderly. Okay. So I talked to the seller's attorney and I said, we're not paying a dime.
No,
we are not paying a dime. We are going to fight this thing tooth and nail. This is not happening. No. And at the end of this, we went back and forth. And at the end of the day, it got so bad to the point the seller's attorney, we had language in the invoice from the plumber, the one that they sent to the seller that said, this is all it needs. It will be functional after you do this. Mm-hmm. Period. Right. So the seller's attorney literally was like, I'm going to report you to our, whatever their legal organization arbitration is, if we don't settle this, because this is wrong. Yeah. And we got our way. We won.
You won. Good.
Because, okay, those listening to the podcast, I have a Wonder Woman mug. I'm just going to say, Wonder Woman. No, there's no way I was calling poor little Beverly and saying, no, oh, I'm sorry, it's not $250, it's $15,000. There's no way. But it was just gross. It was absolutely gross.
Okay, so the plumber who gave that estimate, it wasn't the same guy that was sent there to do the original repair.
It was.
Oh, see, now
he did two estimates.
Scam.
He did two estimates. It was kind of shady. He did one estimate to the seller, and then he wrote a second one saying, these things really should take place. Should. It never said on the estimate, this is what has to make it, these are things that are required to make it work. And that was our argument. It just said these things. And of course it needed a ton of work. It was an old house. Okay, it was an old house. The whole thing needed to be ripped out.
Oh my God, does that burn me up? That burns me up. What
And
a
you know what? This
freaking
attorney,
scammer.
scumbag attorney, who absolutely like he and I found out, I was like, once we got to the core of like what, I'm like, these buyers were nice. They were sweet. I mean, I never actually met them in person, but just the dealings up to that point, it was like, this does not make any sense.
Yeah.
It does not make any sense.
Yeah.
And come to find out, it had nothing to do with the buyers. It was the attorney
It's all
steering
the
the ship,
attorneys, yep.
telling them this is what they need to do. And you know, and finally the seller's attorney, you know, and I was watching the back and forth because he would CC me and on the conversations between the two attorneys, and I saw the message from the buyer's attorney finally saying, "All right, fine, let's just move on from this." And it's like, yes, let's move on from this. I think that's a good idea.
Attorneys kill deals. I'm telling you.
This is
We're
why,
notorious for that.
Jackie, this is why this is part of our job.
Yep.
Okay, yes, you know, real estate agents are not cheap, but you know what? This is the type of thing, like if the other agent did his job, he and I could have settled this thing super fast.
Yep.
No, very little back and forth. Okay, there's a misunderstanding. Let's get this clarified, because now you take that attorney out of the mix. The buyers had no intention of asking the seller for that money. It was like, oh, you think we should ask? Oh, we are entitled? Oh, well then, yeah, we want it.
Because the attorney wants to look like a hero to them. Like, oh, look what I got for you. That's what they do. This happened to me when we sold my parents' house. The stupid buyers who bought my parents' house. Well, just going to wrap up with this story because I get aggravated every time I think about it, and I'm going to share it. So my parents' house had a septic system, right? And by the time when we sold the house, they had replaced it. The house was 50 years old. They had replaced the septic. I think by the time we sold it, I think the septic was maybe 15 years old, maybe between 15 and 20 years old.
Yep.
It had been serviced, all the things. The buyers did not do a septic inspection.
It's not required, huh?
No, but for whatever stupid reason, and this is in New York.
Yeah, Massachusetts it's required.
Yeah, well, it's like same here in Jersey. I'm like, what real? So they decided they didn't do the septic inspection. So then come to closing, we get to the closing table and we get a heads up from our attorney as we're walking in. He goes, by the way, they want a credit for the septic system. We're like, for what? For what?
Yeah, and I want to go to Hawaii.
Exactly. They're like, that was their choice not to do an inspection. It was like, well, now they're going back and saying that, you know, it's on the older side and they don't know if it's, they don't know if it's working properly. I go, wait. They had the final walkthrough. They flushed all the toilets. Everything was, everything's working. The whole system is working just fine. Don't tell me that now they're going to come back and say that there's an issue.
Right.
Because they decided not to do an inspection of that. So, yeah, it was their sleazebag attorney that was pushing for that. And do you know how much of a credit they wanted? They wanted $500. I'm like, what? What? My sister and I are sitting across the table.
Like, I am not closing until you give me this pen.
Yeah, right.
I swear to God, I'll walk away. I walk away. It's either the pen or the deal.
Right?
What's it going to be? I want the pen.
We're sitting across the table. My
break.
sister and I, it's me, my sister, and my attorney, and our attorney, sitting across the table from this sleazebag attorney. And he's like, well, it's an older system. And then their buyer's agent was like, I had a septic system and it gets very costly. And I'm like, $500 ago because you decided not, because you realized you never did a septic inspection. Now you want something for this. And we stood our ground. We're like, no. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. That was
funny?
Your choice not to do it.
What makes me laugh, Jackie, is that $500 is a drop in the bucket. Like,
I know.
You're gonna. I mean, honestly, if you're gonna ask for money, you got to go for the gusto. Like,
right.
I thought you were gonna say like $15,000.
No,
because to replace the system, like $500 is so petty. That's so petty.
It was just sleazebag attorney.
Oh my God! I mean, there are good attorneys. Those, like, if we didn't have the attorney that who's my go-to guy, he's my go-to guy, and for many, many years, he's the guy that I use for seller representation, and because he's good. And with my little old lady, if he didn't go to bat like he did, that she would have, and he backed down. She would have, like, it was because he's a good attorney.
Yeah.
Like, he was a really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a lot of attorneys are it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing.
This guy had an ego. He wanted to make himself look good. So you know what ended up happening? Because we sat there and we're like, no, you're not getting a freaking dime out of us.
Let me ask you,
did he have anything else?
Did he have slick back hair? Did he have slicked back hair? Please tell me, was his hair slicked back?
He did.
I
know.
See?
That's all you got to say. I know. So, okay.
This is what I'm saying.
So listen. So then, so you know how it ended? Do you know how it ended? He's like, first, and then he pushes back. He goes, what about $100? We're like, no. So you know what he does? He turns to his clients. He goes, tell you what, I'll knock $100 off of my bill for you guys, for the inconvenience. We're like,
what a putz.
What? Oh, I wanted to climb over that table and wring this guy's neck. I'm like, how dare you? Because it was so emotional for us. This is our family home that we're selling. And then, like, you got to pull this crap at the 11th hour at the closing table. Like, get out of here. Get out.
You know what? So here's the thing is, like, I feel like, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, because it's been so busy.
Yeah.
Right? It's become more of a transactional involvement.
Yes.
And people are across the board, the real estate agents, all the professionals involved, right? The real estate agents, the attorneys, all the paralegals, the mortgage people, all the professionals involved. It has become like a machine. And what I mean by that is years ago, you would actually take a pause and be like, okay, so how does this? Let's take the clients into consideration. Let's take the people that we're affecting, that were the people that we're representing.
Yep.
Let's see how it's impacting them, because it's not always about the dollars and the cents.
Right.
It's not always about the dollars and the cents. And if it's like in your case, because it's an emotional situation, it doesn't matter if it's $100, $1,000, or $10,000. It turned you guys upside down because it's an emotional situation. And because it's just like, okay, check, next.
Yep.
It's like a freaking ticket counter. They just don't give a shit.
They don't.
They just want, it's like, another closing. Here you go. Next one in line, please.
Yep.
Next one in line. And it's become
a shame,
it's just like a disconnect. Yeah. It's a disconnect of I had a situation not too long ago where, I had a seller, and you know what? I will do what I can when I can do it, right? And this particular seller was in a situation where it was like, getting to and from and scheduling and all the things was challenging, and it was an emotional sale and all the things. And she, it's got the closing process has changed. Since the pandy. It used to be everybody gets in the same room to sign the papers. Now it's segmented, right? Sellers sign at different times of the buyers and all the things. So she needed to get the paperwork. She was older. She didn't have access to a computer. So, she needed the paperwork, and it was a hardship. So I was doing the thing. Massachusetts, you got to get a smoke detector inspection. So I did the inspection for her, which is what I usually do anyways. And I went to the attorney's office to drop off the certificate because they need it for closing. And I said, you know what, while I'm here, I want to, I'm going to grab the seller's documents. I'm going to grab the seller's documents instead of her coming in to review or whatever it was. And the paralegal at the time was like, well, why are you going to do that? I said, well, because it'll save her a trip. She's like, well, they can just, it's not a big deal. They can just come in. Like, why? It's not your job. And I'm like, I know it's not written somewhere that it's my job description. It's called taking care of the people, like taking it, just giving a crap about the human that is involved in the process. Like giving a crap about the person without having, like, am I doing it with an ulterior motive to be like, oh, if I do this, they might send me a referral. Or if I do this, like, there's no monetary gain. It's called just like, hey, it's a nice thing to do.
Being a nice person.
It's just a good, it would, and she was immensely great, had immense gratitude. For me doing this little tiny, I was there anyways.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
What's the big deal?
This person, this paralegal who was, she wasn't that, she was a little bit younger than me, but she was just like, I don't know.
They don't
like,
get
I don't
it.
understand why you need to take it. Why can't, I'm like, just give me the damn paperwork.
That's just,
but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like that disconnect of, that like transactional checkbox meat counter mentality,
right.
which is frustrating. And you know what, Jackie, you and I one by one are going to save the world. We're just going to make sure that we stand up for the little guy.
Yep.
And make sure that stuff doesn't happen.
Darn right.
You know what I'm saying?
So Jen, did I do good this week with the stories?
You did good. You did. There we go. You definitely get a round of applause for that.
Thank you.
I think that was very entertaining.
It was very entertaining.
For sure. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Yes, thank you.
This was fun. And, wait for next week. We'll have more fun stuff. If you are interested in seeing our mugs, and I'm not talking about the coffee mug, but seeing our faces while we're doing this thing. We do it. I do record on we do a video and record it on YouTube. So you can watch the same podcast on our YouTube channel, Reddit Real Estate Disasters. You can check it out. And until next week, you got anything to add there, Jackie?
I got nothing. Let's hopefully they'll come up with some more good stuff next week. More crazy buyers and sellers.
Rock and roll, baby. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Till next week, be good, be kind, do something nice for someone unexpected, and have a great week.
Yes.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.